G'day, ZiggyD here. Today I'm giving you guys a first look at an indie action RPG by the name of Chronicon. I've played a decent amount of this over the past week, and it's turned out to be a surprisingly deep little dungeon crawler, and probably the perfect distraction for us action RPG fans struggling with the wait until Path of Exile's next league. Before I jump into explaining the game in a bit more detail, if you guys are watching this video within 24 hours of it coming out, and like what you see, then Chrono GG is having a 35% off sale, so you can pick the game up for only $6.50. The link in the description below is an affiliate link, so if you guys buy through it, then you'll be supporting my channel as well with some of that amount. I've worked with Chrono in the past on deals for Path of Exile and a few other games, and I can comfortably recommend them as they work directly with developers and not as a third-party key reseller. So with that said, let's take a look at Chronicon. Okay, so you've seen a brief snippet of gameplay so far. I'll talk to you guys about builds first. So there are 4 classes: Templar, Berserker, Warden, and Warlock. And they're fairly what you expect. Each one of them has a number of different trees within them. So the Templar has like a few defensive trees, some aura-based ones, some like kind of party support ones if you want to play multiplayer, and some more offensive-oriented ones around like Holy and Fire and things like that as well. So you got the kind of different elements theming down there with some information over there. Berserker being your melee DPS with a lot of like martial arts style trees, and I noticed a lot of things like auras, so like a fire aura that burns all enemies around you, and a lot of regen and stuff like that. So I felt pretty strong and fun when I played him. Warden, which I've been playing, so you'll be able to see a bit more of that, and Warlock as your spellcaster of various different elements, but also kind of as a necromancer and summoner as well. Okay, so we'll load up onto my character here, and I'll give you guys a look at how the skill system works in this game. So in each character you have in each class you have 4 different skill tree like mastery areas here, and you can mix and match these if you want to as well. I noticed something cute is that your character's armor. Gear isn't represented on your character in this game, which is always a shame. I like when gears are represented on your character. But your character does change color and appearance a bit depending on which skill tree you go into. I don't know if you're spec into 2 whether it becomes some sort of combo or not, but depending on which you go. So I'm like, as I'm a physical character, I kind of got this like light bluey, grey outfit. Anyway, that's just cute. So, as an example for the Warden here, I have this physical tree here, which I'm building things like a lot of physical damage, very rapid fire with things like rapid shot, so as my primary attack is kind of like a barrage style skill. I have an AoE Nova of projectiles, and I have a tornado as well. Now, what I'm actually going to do is respec and show you guys how this skill allocation system works, because within each of these different trees, I just used a respec, wait, no, that's an invisibility potion. Let me grab a respec potion just here. Okay, so I've respec'd all my skills, and that's pretty easy to do in this game, which is a good thing. You can just buy potions and respec kind of whenever you want, just take some money. It's quite good that you can respec quite freely, because some of the skills are pretty lackluster and mediocre. That's definitely one of my early critiques of the game, is that some skills are nowhere near as fun as others. So when you first play this, you'll want to try a few different skills out, respec, try a few different ones, and until you settle on some that you like. So some of my favorites, for example, were using Stormcaller's it was kind of like a ball lightning skill, Shock Orb, which travels slowly through enemies and zaps them a bunch, and I also quite like this physical barrage. So the way this works, this skill system, is fairly interesting, because what you'll do is you'll select one of these pluses, and then you'll select a skill. So this is like your primary default attack replacer, and you can either go Gust or Rapid Shot. So once you select one of these, you put points into it, and then this passive that's connected to it modifies that base skill. So depending on which one you go for, the modifiers might affect it a little bit differently, and you might build a little bit differently as a result. So each one of those will have multiple choices. So for example, there's an evasive skill here. We have a large tumble if you just want to cover large ground. We have a tumble with that removes hindering effects, and then we have a tumble that drops a trap that deals damage and I think stuns enemies or something. So you can get any of those 3, and then you can combine it with a kick as well that kicks enemies away, so you can kind of mix these things up. So I like the escape ability, for example, so I can put a point into that. So what we're going to do is invest points into these. I'm going to max out my default skill here, which allows me to invest into this one that reduces its mana cost, and now it's a default attack replacer. So I can right click it then and place it on the left mouse button so that I can replace my default attack with it, and I can do the similar thing on the right mouse button here for my escape ability. I like to put 1 point into kick here to kick them away. So there are various passive abilities, so some of these are pretty simple, just like archery damage, some increase like the range of your skills, for example, and there are some more interesting ones like piercing chance, which you can invest into, and then if you pierce, then you have a chance of staggering enemies. And things like Splinter, which is my build is kind of built around, is firing very fast and having a lot of splinters go off. Splinter is a chance for your projectile to kind of explode, dealing extra physical damage in an AoE around them, so that helps with clearing out dense packs of monsters. So we go through, as you invest points, your skill tree kind of unlocks, and you can purchase skills later in the tree. So the more points you invest in the earlier skills, the more it moves along, and you can continue, and you can kind of distribute it differently. And you'll probably go one way and then respec, and then redistribute your points a little bit in the future once you figure out like a more optimized route. So I'm gonna go for multi-shot here. Actually, I think I've been this skill slot I've actually skipped in order to be more efficient with my build. So I'm gonna go with Tree and Guard as a defensive little buddy that'll follow me around. And I'll invest a few points into passives here in order to progress the tree along so I can unlock some of the later skills. So I like to put 1 point in each of these. This one fires an additional arrow, has a chance to fire an additional arrow, which is quite nice. And now we have access to this skill slot. So I quite like Volley. It's a big AoE. It's great when you're surrounded, and it also slows enemies, and you can also weaken them with one of the further passives as well. So I'm going to invest some points into Volley here. I'll grab 1 point in Evasion, and I'll grab a point in attack speed there, and that unlocks the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on number 1 now. And now this passive modifies Volley, the skill that I chose, with a debuff that causes enemies to take more damage. So I'll go ahead and allocate the rest of my tree, and then I'll talk a little bit more about this. So in addition to the base skill trees, so we have the physical one, we have druidic stuff, which is a lot of poisons. We have Stormcaller, which is lightning-themed projectile attacks, and some spells as well, and then Winter Herald, which is cold-themed. So we have all of these different skill trees, and then, as I said, you can mix and match them a bit, and sometimes there's actually synergies between them too. So for example, under Wind Ranger here, the physical tree, you can grab seeds, and what happens then is your razor tips, or these splinters, will also carry pods from the druid tree. Now, if we go into the druid tree, we can find pods around here somewhere. Over here, pods. The Warden's poison skills now carry pods, which will start to grow on any foe here. The pods deal poison damage, and then they have a chance to burst as well. So what this means is that when you get this proc in Wind Ranger, it'll also put pods on the enemies, dealing additional poison damage and creating additional secondary explosions. So I'm probably going to work my way towards that eventually. I'm only level 30. I believe there's 100 levels in this game, so I assume that around 50 we could probably get a lot of what we want from one skill tree and then start investing into a second one. Or you could probably start a little bit earlier, but I think it's better to unlock some of these later skills for your first few levels, or your early levels, I would say. So once you've selected which kind of ones you want to go into and start investing in, pick the skills, pick the passives that you want to buff the skills, try and found synergies together to create your builds, which feels quite satisfying. You also have mastery points as well, which you earn over time. Now, these are quite simple, these are passives, but they do allow you to refine your build a little bit further. So for example, you can select from different trees here, and these relate to the other trees, but there's often multiple choices, so you don't necessarily have to invest in the one that's directly related to the tree that you're actually investing into. Now I'm investing into things like increasing my attack speed, increasing the damage of the attacks that I tend to use, and also getting extra triggers, so a chance of triggering Overdraw, which is one of the passives in this tree, and also things like increased damage, and you can eventually get some extra chances to trigger Splinters. So I plan on maxing this out, getting 20% chance for Splinters, and then investing in pods, for example, in the Druid tree, so getting that combo going. So you can get a little bit of further refinement in the Mastery tree as well. Now here's where things get really fun, and kind of where the game surprised me, is the actual loot system in this game is quite good. There's some pretty cool loot in this game that you can find. So enemies drop multiple tiers of loot, normal, magic, aka enchanted, and then there's rare items, and then there's like unique rare items, and then there's actual legendary items. So I have a unique accessory here, for example, which has a chance to cause bleeding, additional physical damage. All items have health, mana, and damage on them, and you can start with that as a baseline, and then you add additional stats to them as well. So we have, for example, Nightcap here, which has some bonus crit chance. Nothing too interesting in this one. Chance of death blast when we kill enemies. Oh no, it's when we're struck. What's some more interesting ones here? Movement speed after killing a foe. I like life gain on hit since I hit very fast here, but also the bleed is quite nice. Knockback chance with my fast attack speed, pretty nice. I tried to build my items around my build to take advantage of my very high attack speed where possible. We've got making me immune to knockback and pull effects, pretty good. I comboed this with an amulet before that made me immune to other status elements, and it was immune to almost anything kind of like crowd control related, so that was quite nice. Additional bleed damage, crit damage. You'll see that there's 2 orbs circling me. They're from some of my items as well that deal extra things like chain lightning and so on. I got some other cool items here that I've been stashing, other cool legendaries and things that I've found. So let's find someone's chance for foes to explode upon death, dealing a portion of their health, kind of an infernal blow effect. There are set items, so you can see Sun is from the Sun and Moon set here, and when you get both of them, an amulet and a ring, when you use a frost skill, you gain fire damage, and when you use a fire skill, you gain frost damage, and that kind of stacks up. So you get this kind of like, if you're playing a spellcaster that's in both the frost and fire trees, you can potentially use this set. So there's some pretty interesting stuff in here. Something I quite like, that there is gambling in this game, so we're in the Chronicon here, which is kind of like home base, and you can indeed gamble for items, and I have gotten like legendary items from gambling as well, so I spend a lot of my time on gambling. So let's say I want to try and find a better bow than what I've got now. I can gamble for these guys, sinking all of my cash into this. I'll sell any of the kind of like magic level ones and take a look at some of the rares that I've got in here and see if we can find something nice. Chance on hit to summon a twister that moves around randomly, dealing 74 ethereal damage. That's kind of cool. So with the amount of hits that I have, I could be summoning quite a few twisters flying around. So there's some pretty cool stuff in there. We can keep gambling on some more bows. Ooh, we got a unique bow, Icewind. It's actually the same unique that I have right now. A higher level version of it. So that's pretty juicy. That's 10 levels higher. And as you can see, the white stats are different. Now, they're actually kind of like varied additional stats that can roll on items, and you can actually enchant via the Chanty the Enchanter up there, lol. And you can actually change those white stats as well into different white stats. So let's use this as an example right now. Let's go ahead and sell these guys. I'll sell these other bows I don't want. I'll probably replace my Icewind with this Icewind since it's already a good bow. This one we could make even better. But these secondary stats, health on hit's kind of nice, mana, companion damage. But I'll show you guys this stuff anyway. Let me grab some enchanting orbs and we can take a look at that. So we've got these guys here, different essences which you collect from rare enemies. They'll sometimes drop these. We can take Icewind down here, and we can do a few different things. So we can reroll the strength of selected enchants, so we can reroll them within kind of their range. So like in Path of Exile, if there's a health range of 40 to 50, you can reroll in this. So this one might be able to, let's take a look. We got the health. I can reroll things like the health on hit rolls between 7 and 8. Apparently, I can roll it up to there, or I can augment it up. Companion damage I can roll up, but there's more interesting things you can do. Generate a fresh set of enchants for the item. So the enchants being the health on hit, mana, and companion damage. Let's go ahead and roll that. This time we got a chance to heal yourself after giving a foe. That's when you get like a crit explosion. Poison on hit, not bad. Experience gain. Let's do another reroll and see what else we get. Poison damage, knockback, cooldown reduction. That was not very good. Poison damage, chance to knockback, cooldown reduction. I think I might be out of, I'm out of enchanting materials to further enchant this. Well, I'm going to go ahead and equip this because it's still a better version of my current bow, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. I think the first set of stats that I had were probably actually better though. So the crafting system's pretty good. You can augment to just like incrementally improve some of the enchants, but that locks it so that you can't change it then. I reroll them within the range and then generate new ones. So it's got a pretty cool kind of like a path, some sort of like a cross between Path of Exile's master crafting system where you can supplement items, and then also the actual currency crafting system where you can like kind of re-roll them. So that's pretty cool, and it works on uniques as well, which is nice. So now that I have for quite a long period of time covered the kind of build system, because I do think it's actually quite interesting, it's quite satisfying creating different builds in this game, let's talk about the kind of like the aesthetics and the gameplay and things like that, you know, the actual game itself, outside of the character building, which, you know, we're all about the character building, action RPG fans. The gameplay is pretty fast-paced and can be pretty bullet hell. Early on, it starts off kind of slowish as you kind of pick your way through dungeons and pick off enemies, you know, just a couple at a time. But as you go and as you get further along and build up your skills, the levels become more and more jam-packed, and you get larger AoE skills, and the enemies get crazier, and you actually end up kind of building up kill streaks as well. So you can see this bar down here is my kill streak bar, and the larger your kill streak, the more bonuses you'll get, like the bloodbath explosion just there. but also experience bonuses and currency bonuses at the end as well. So you can play pretty fast. So if you like your efficient clear speed play styles, you can definitely build for that, building a lot of move speed, building movement abilities. I'm using my backflip to backflip through the level by turning my mouse cursor around because of that WASD control, which feels pretty good in this kind of like 2D top-down kind of view. I backflip in the direction that I actually want to go to speed things up. We've got a unique mob here, Mary the Ghost. She should drop something cool for us, hopefully. Oh, she did indeed. A few enchanting items, and as you can see, that shiny unique item just there, which is actually a loot table unique for her. It's her actual mirror, and we got another rare item there as well. So this is actually a slightly better version of what I've got. Yeah, cool. Because I just recently cleared this level myself, so I found that. So I think that's a guaranteed drop for her, that unique mob. So there's different unique mobs you can go chase down and get specific items for if you want to build your characters around. So you could learn that sort of thing and build characters around them in the future, or just find them as nice leveling items. In addition to that, there are fully random uniques that, you know, become accessible different levels and different difficulties affect unique drops as well. There's multiple difficulty system. Whoa. Got Shrek'd. Well, we died, so you got to see the death penalties there. If you die, you can spawn your corpse at the cost of money, or you can spawn at the start of the level for cheaper, or back at the Chronicon for free. So you can kind of keep that going. But we definitely lost our kill streaks now. So initially, it's kind of slow, and you don't have access to many skills. So the first few levels are kind of picking your way around with just like default attack and one skill that you can't really maintain very well with mana. So like it's a little slow for the first like 10-20 minutes until you get a few levels in and you unlock the ability to spam your main skill and get a second skill. And then it starts to feel quite a lot better, and then it starts to get quite fast paced like it is now. Aesthetically, the game is it's okay. It's kind of cute. Pixel art is kind of all the rage, right? And the problem is that with quite large pixels like this, it can be quite visually noisy and difficult to see things. Like, you can see just the amount of like procs and things that are happening with me, and the zaps and the projectiles and stuff going everywhere. It can be a little hard to recognize what mods are doing. So I don't rate the aesthetics super highly, just because it could be clearer. If the pixels themselves were smaller, the art was a bit smoother and cleaner, then it might be a little easier to see things. So it makes things a bit visually noisy and a bit messy looking. But as I said, it is kind of cute. It probably looks okay in video, but when you're on like a bigger screen, you can quite see those pixels being stretched out. Whereas when I look over at my OBS feed, the art looks much cleaner because it's kind of zoomed in, right? Like it's stretched down. So as you can see, you have champion and rare mobs and unique mobs, and of course bosses. All of these guys. A lot of what you expect from the action RPG genre. This is definitely a fully fledged action RPG. Let's go into a boss fight here. Everything levels with you, I've noticed, so you can go to earlier zones and earlier bosses and farm them if you want like specific things off them, or if you like doing a particular run, you can keep doing them because of that kind of zone leveling. This is one of the bosses here. The bosses are hilarious, and their pixels are even more stretched out, like they're upsized models of regular mobs, which is a bit kind of funny looking. This guy is kind of like a Gom from Diablo 3 style boss with like poison damage and stuff everywhere. My single target DPS is pretty good now, so I should be able to kind of crush this guy here. Let's chuck a tornado on him. We've got to get off that poison before we get killed though. I was standing in the perfect position to avoid those projectiles just there. There's actually some shrines here I can grab which give various buffs. That might be helpful. Let's hit him with that to debuff him and finish him off. As you can see, this game has pretty nice loot explosions. This is an example of a small loot explosion. Sometimes you'll get like wealthy mobs that hold extra currency, or collector mobs that have a lot of extra items on them, and that'll be pretty fun because then you just get crazy amounts of loot explosions. Some other fun aspects of the game are that occasionally, I think when you're getting kill streaks, portals will open to other unstable dimensions. Maybe I'm just killing certain mobs, I'm not exactly sure. And you can go to these zones that are full of just like rare and champion mobs and smash them and just get tons and tons of loot and legendaries, and then you get like 10 legendaries while running these runs, so pretty exciting stuff. And I also did find like a kind of like a loot goblin style mob that when I killed opened a portal to this like loot stage as well, which is pretty rad. I had to fight a boss and then there was like 15 chests in there, so some pretty cool stuff. So lots of little like kind of cute little Easter eggs and stuff to find, little cute farming zones and things like that, as well as like maintaining your kill streaks. Makes for kind of like a pretty fun kind of challenge to the game. And some of these challenge areas are pretty challenging as well. One challenge area I went into was actually just kind of like a gauntlet run where you had to run through traps while trying not to die, but I did fail, because I'm terrible. So I've done all of Act 1 and I've just started Act 2. I just wanted to jump in here real quick before we finish up, because this video is getting quite long, just to show you guys that there's some variety in the terrains as well. So the first act is all kind of in dungeons and catacombs and crypts and things like that, so it's still kind of samey looking, moving through dark dungeons, which is cool. It gives kind of like a Diablo 1 vibe. But this zone we've got here is kind of like an elven outside like woodlands, which is a bit of a refreshing change in pace. These elves are like nasty as I just get slammed by their projectiles. Got a unique item off him. I think that's his loot table unique. A few items there. To help with loot, there is a like a tab up display. You can hold Alt to show the items, which is quite helpful. Let's check out that hood we got here. High crit chance hood, not bad. So I actually came into this zone earlier and got one off him when I was one level lower, and I got a level 31. Now I got a level 31. So that kind of points out that for these like loot table items off these unique mobs, you could, if you find one you really like, go back every now and then and farm another one to replace it. So if you find, like for example, if I really like this crit chance on this hood, I could come back in 10, 20 levels or something and farm another one with high crit chance. I may by then find a legendary that's better, or another item that's better, but you have that option of kind of like building out your character with low level uniques that are up leveled. So kind of an interesting take on that system. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this first little look at Chronicon. Not a bad little game for like $6.50 to $10. Definitely worth it. It's a good way to kill some time, you know, 10, 20, 30 hours until in the wait until 2.6 or 3.0 for Path of Exile. And it's definitely got enough meat. It's got enough meat and juice to it to sustain and keep interested dedicated and long-term action RPG players, because, you know, it's got some pretty cool loot to find, lots of cool uniques and legendaries and things, and decently difficult combat, and plenty of build options to tinker with and try and refine. So checks kind of all the boxes there. Even though it might not be kind of the best looking action RPG out there, I think it's a lot of fun. So that's it for now, guys. I'm ZiggyD, and thank you very much for watching.